the chosen one. This moment was predestined. The fact that you're here listening to my words demonstrates your tremendous journey. You've overcome obstacles, experienced hardships, and navigated circumstances that were insurmountable at times. But here you are, triumphant and resilient. This video did not discover you by coincidence. It is a divine appointment, a meticulously arranged moment to remind you of the truth you've always known within. You are selected, set aside for greatness as you observe. Stay with us until the end, because this message contains keys that will open much more significant breakthroughs in your life. And don't forget participate in something unique in the comments. Write your best wishes and add 777 as a symbol of your faith and connection to the cosmos. This simple act creates waves of energy, increasing your aspirations and aligning them with divine timing. Your desires, when expressed with faith, have enormous power, and the universe quickly responds to the chosen one who understands how to believe. Now, like this video, and let us concentrate on the path that led you here and the enormous triumph you've won. The life of the chosen is not ordinary. From the start, your journey has been distinguished by exceptional challenges. These were not intended to break you, but to shape you into the strong person you are today. Every challenge you encountered was a chance to learn, progress, and soar higher. Sleepless evenings, silent conflicts, and times of uncertainty. These were the flames that purified you. The chosen one. It was not easy, but you persisted. Even when others questioned you, you recognized that each struggle served a bigger purpose. You recognized that these were not just coincidences, but heavenly teachings meant to prepare you for your destiny. And now, with each test passed, you've shown your readiness not just to the world, but also to yourself and God. Exams weren't only exterior struggles. Most of them were internal. The struggle to overcome fear, quiet the inner critic, and keep faith while everything around you seemed to disintegrate. These were the biggest challenges of all. And yet, with each stride, you chose faith above fear, determination, despair, purpose, and agony. That decision, made repeatedly, is what has led you to victory today. Your victory isn't only about personal achievement. It is about taking on the part you were always destined to play. You are a light in the dark, a source of hope for others around you. Your struggle gives others hope that they, too, can overcome. You have become a living example of tenacity, faith, and the unwavering strength of the human spirit when linked with divine purpose. But let us not forget the divine hand that led you through all. God has been with you every step of the way, arranging events, giving you strength, and opening doors that no one could close. Even at times when you felt alone, you were never really abandoned. The challenges were part of a larger plan to draw you closer to Him, to strengthen your faith, and to prepare you for the gifts that are now manifesting in your life. The chosen one. Your win does not mark the end of the road. This is the start of a new chapter. With each exam passed, you gained a better grasp of your mission. The world needs your unique talents. Your narrative and light are critical in these times. You were selected for a purpose, and now is the moment to aggressively pursue that calling. Keep the lessons you've learned in mind as you go. Each test taught you something important about yourself, life, and God's purpose for you. Carry these lessons with you as you take on new possibilities and challenges. Your foundation is firm, and you are prepared for whatever is ahead. The cosmos cheers your success. Heaven celebrates your persistence. Now it's time for you to rejoice as well. Allow yourself to experience the weight of your victory. Allow thankfulness to flood your heart at every moment, difficulty and victory. You've come a long way, and there's still so much more to come. The chosen one. You have traveled a journey characterized by a series of divine tests, each carefully planned to shape you into the resilient, amazing human you are now. Consider how your trip has challenged your faith, patience, and bravery. This was no ordinary route, and only the selected may face challenges of this magnitude and come out triumphant. Do you remember when it felt like every door was closed? You knocked. You prayed. Silence echoed back. It was not because you were forgotten. It was because you were being instructed. Perseverance. Every no meant a reroute. Every delay. A lesson about divine timing. And when the pieces come together, you understand that the closed doors were not rejections. God used clever moves to guide you to the proper one. With God's blessings, please support this message with a $20 or more heavenly donation by clicking the Super Thank You button on YouTube. And let us share faith, hope, and love not just in our own lives, but also to those who need it the most. Your giving will be appreciated since you are a reflection of God's light. Share your blessings to praise God's kingdom, since you were designed to perform bigger things in God's loving hands. May God's blessings flood throughout your lives. The chosen one is often asked to face storms that others may never comprehend. There was a time in your life when loss seemed to follow you. Perhaps you have lost connections, chances, or even portions of yourself. However, throughout that period of decluttering, you got something considerably more valuable: clarity. You started to realize what was genuinely important. The friendships that ended showed you who was destined to travel this journey beside you. The chances you missed prepared you for bigger ones. And through it all, you learned to trust the divine plan rather than your own knowledge. Each exam has its own set of pains and rewards. Perhaps you were betrayed by people you trusted dearly. The betrayal was a test of forgiveness and discernment. You discovered that not everyone can perceive the vision God has put inside your heart. And that's okay. You stopped looking for confirmation from others and started believing the quiet little voice within you. Then came the challenges of isolation. The chosen one. People often walk alone, not because they are unworthy of fellowship, but because isolation is where their most profound discoveries occur. In those quiet times, you struggled with self-doubt, questioned your purpose, and wondered whether you were on the right track. However, at those times, you realized a fundamental truth. Your power comes from inside, not from outward approval. Remember when you were at a crossroads, unsure which path to take? Every step forward needed faith, and each choice tested your faith in the Almighty. Sometimes you choose the more difficult road because you knew it was the correct one. While some questioned your decisions, you remained the course. Now as you look back, you can see how each choice moved you closer to success. Your exams were not solely personal. They were also relational. You've come across individuals who questioned your ability, dismissed your aspirations, or attempted to hinder your success. These conversations were difficult, but they taught you the need of judgment. You learned to create boundaries to safeguard your energy and to surround yourself with people who elevate rather than tear down. Let us not forget the challenges of faith. There were moments when your prayers went unanswered, and you felt as if you were traveling in the dark. You hung on in those times, however. You choose to believe in something you couldn't see, and that faith became your anchor. As the light shines through, you realize that God has been with you all along, guiding your steps and strengthening your soul. Each test you passed was a win, not just for you, but for the bigger reason you came here to serve. Your troubles were not only about you. They were designed to prepare you to affect others. The insight you've learned, the strength you've grown, and the compassion you now represent are all valuable assets for the journey ahead. As you stand in this moment of success, take a deep breath and allow thankfulness to flood your heart. You've passed each test one by one. You've shown that you're not just powerful, but unshakable. You are not just resilient, but unstoppable. This is your win, and it is well-deserved. The chosen one. Allow me to tell you something meaningful. Every storm you've gone through, every mountain you've climbed, and every tear you've cried was not in vain. You've traveled a one-of-a-kind route, full with hardships meant not to defeat you, but to awaken your inner strength. Be aware of this as you stand here today. You have passed every challenge of life that has come your way. You are a victor in the eyes of the divine. This excursion was not coincidental. It was well-planned. The difficulties you encountered were stepping stones, not stumbling blocks. Remember when you felt like everything was crumbling? Perhaps it was a financial catastrophe, the abrupt termination of a relationship, or the loss of something you treasured. Those experiences were not intended to ruin you, but to teach you perseverance. They taught you how to rebuild. not in fear, but in trust. The exams came one by one, and you conquered each one. Life didn't allow you to skip steps, did it? Every time you wondered, why me? There was a deeper explanation for the anguish. Perhaps you recall a period when you were wrongfully accused, misunderstood, or severely criticized. That was not a punishment. It tested your humility and sincerity. You stood your ground, refusing to respond in fury, and chose peace over vengeance. Do you remember the seasons of waiting? There were occasions when you sowed seeds but received no yield. You prayed, worked, and hoped. However, nothing appeared to move. The quiet tried your patience, but you refused to give up. You choose to trust the process. And now the seeds you sowed are sprouting, producing a larger harvest than you could have dreamed. The selected one is often tried in isolation. You could have believed that no one fully understood your difficulties. Friends faded away. Family seems distant, and you found yourself strolling alone. However, something extraordinary occurred during those calm hours. You have realized your genuine self. The seclusion became a refuge where you could hear God's voice, clearly directing you and validating your mission. One of the most difficult exams you passed was the test of forgiveness. There were those who injured you badly, maybe betraying your confidence. They could have mocked at your aspirations or attempted to dull your brightness. But instead of clinging on to your resentment, you opted to let it go. Forgiveness was not for them. It was for you. It allowed your heart to go on without the shackles of bitterness keeping it back. The selected one. Do you see how each test served a purpose? The restless nights, never-ending prayers, and times of uncertainty. They all shaped you. They chiseled away fear, insecurity, and doubt, revealing the masterpiece inside. You were being transformed into someone capable of bearing the weight of their heavenly calling. Then there were the tests of faith. How many times have you stood at a crossroads, wondering which route to take? The obvious decision seems safe, but the road of faith beckoned to you. You chose faith even if it made no sense to others. You opted to believe in something you couldn't see, and now you are in amazement of how everything has come together. One of the most important examinations you had to take was the persistence test. There were times when you wanted to give up, when the weight of the world seemed too much to carry. But you kept going. You found strength in prayer, in solitary times with God, and in the conviction that your difficulties were transitory. And because you persisted, you're now standing on the other side of the storm. Let us not forget the test of love. Loving people even when it was not returned was one of the most difficult teachings. You dedicated your heart, time, and energy only to be greeted with apathy and rejection. However, you did not let it harden you. You continued to love, understanding that genuine love is unconditional. That love has now become a light inside you, spreading to those who need it the most. The chosen one. Your triumph is more than simply personal. It is spiritual. You have demonstrated to yourself, the world, and God that you are prepared for the rewards that will come. Your faith has opened doors. Your tenacity has created bridges, and your love has healed wounds. You are now entering a season of plenty, and every lesson you have learned will serve as the basis for the life you will lead. The chosen one. Your life has been a succession of complicated difficulties, each one intended to prepare you for the greatness you are now on the verge of accomplishing. You walked through fire and emerged polished. Most people would not endure the hardships you've gone through. Nonetheless, you have emerged triumphant. Your trip hasn't been easy. Think about your life as a series of courses. Every encounter taught you something important, but the teachings were not given to you. They were deserved. The first classroom may have been on emotional resilience. You were put in circumstances that forced you to face your darkest anxieties. Perhaps you have suffered grief or desertion at an early age. The suffering was intense, but it taught you to create an unshakable foundation inside yourself, one capable of enduring life's storms. Then came the classroom of rejection. Wasn't this one of the most grueling tests? Opportunities that you really desired slipped through your fingertips. People you expected to support you turned their backs. But these rejections were not failures. They were redirections. Each one moved you closer to the route you were intended to take. Over time, you recognized that rejection did not represent your value. It was God's method of keeping you safe from what was not intended for you. The following test was one of identification. Do you recall feeling confused and unclear of who you were or why you were here? Society attempted to fit you into its mold, but you didn't fit. The world urged you to comply, but your spirit spoke. You are not like other people. This was a test of self-awareness. It required you to delve deep, take off the masks you wore for others, and accept your true self. The chosen one. Your faith has also been challenged many times. Remember those periods of quiet when it seemed like your prayers were hitting the ceiling. Delays, obstacles, and unsolved questions. They were not indicators of desertion, but rather calls to trust. God wanted to determine whether you could trust in His promise, even when the proof couldn't be discovered. And you did. You held on. And that trust has led you to this point. One of the most significant examinations you passed was the service test. There were moments when you contributed selflessly, asking nothing in return. You assisted others even if your own resources were low. You showed generosity to those who did not deserve it. And although it may have seemed as if your efforts went unrecognized, they did not. Every act of service was recognized, treasured, and saved for the rewards you are currently experiencing. Let us not overlook the endurance test. Life throws trial after challenge your way, as if to check how much you could take. You had financial difficulties, health issues, and personal losses. There were times when you wondered whether you had the strength to keep on. But every time you fell, you stood back up. Your persistence proved that you were indestructible. You also passed the eyesight exam. Those around you often questioned the aspirations you had in your heart. People questioned you, mocked your ambitions, and attempted to persuade you to settle for less. But you wouldn't give up. You nourished your concept in seclusion, shielded it from criticism, and worked relentlessly to bring it to fruition. Now, when the rewards of your effort begin to show, those same naysayers are in awe of what you've done. The chosen one. You also passed the test of humility. Despite your accomplishments, you never let pride dominate you. You stayed grounded, realizing that your accomplishment is due to divine favor rather than your own efforts. You utilized your platform not to raise yourself, but to boost others. This humility is what separates you. It is what guarantees that your success will last. With God's blessings, you are welcome to bless this message by making a generous contribution of $50 or more. Use the Super Thanks button on YouTube. Let us work together to share faith, hope, and love, bringing light not just into our own lives, but also to others in need. Your donation provides a source of inspiration and healing for many individuals. Perhaps the most difficult test of all was the test of patience. You were offered glimpses of the future promises that were to come, but you had to wait. Wait and wait. Patience challenged your confidence in God's timeline, rather than racing to make your own. But while waiting, you realized the beauty of divine timing. Everything falls into place when the moment is perfect. The chosen one. Today, we are not only reflecting on your trip, we're celebrating it. Your successes were hard-won. You were shaped by each difficulty and setback that you encountered. Each moment of hesitation was an essential part of the journey that brought you to this point. Your victory. You are a live example of what occurs when a person not only survives, but also learns, develops, and eventually thrives despite hardship. Remember when you felt like you were at the bottom, and every stride forward appeared to be followed by 2 steps back. Those were the times when your character was being formed. Do you recall the uncertainty? The issue of whether you were on the correct track? It was at such times that you learned the most important lessons of your life. You were not failing. You were changing. Let us reflect on the self-doubt exam. You know the voice that said, "You are not good enough. You will never make it. This dream is too large for you." It was loud, insistent, and compelling. However, you did not allow it to take root. Instead, you choose to rise above it. Every time you felt unworthy or incapable, you found the courage to persevere. You fought back with the power of belief. The fact is that your doubts were simply meant to make you stronger. They tried your resolve, and you passed with flying colors. Next came the perception exam. Society often attempts to categorize us, pressuring us to fit into a predetermined shape. But you didn't fit the mold, did you? You did not appear like the world anticipated. You did not adhere to the guidelines. Instead, you accepted your individuality. You recognized that your originality was your strength. You were never intended to fit in. You were always supposed to stand out and forge your own path. Then came the trial of faith. When everything looked to be crumbling apart, faith seemed like it was holding on by a thread. When doors closed and opportunities appeared to slip through your fingertips, you remained faithful. You did not let go. It was not always simple, but you believed that God's purpose for you was larger than the difficulties you encountered. And now, as you approach the next chapter, you can see how each step of trust has led you to this point of breakthrough. Another exam you faced was the relationship test. Relationships, whether with family, friends, or romantic partners, are some of the most important areas in which we are challenged. You had times of great connection, but you also suffered treachery, misunderstanding, and grief. And yet, you discovered the genuine power of unconditional love. You've learned to forgive and let go. You recognize that you can't control how people treat you, but you can control how you react. These exams helped you gain empathy, compassion, and a better understanding of what it takes to genuinely love. The test of resilience may have been one of the most difficult you encountered. Resilience is more than just the ability to bounce back. It is about moving forward with grace after each fall. You've been struck down repeatedly, but you did not remain down. Every failure served as a lesson. Every failure is a stepping stone. And with each setback, you became stronger. You gained a level of strength that most people will never know because it was forged in the flames of hardship. You also passed the test for eyesight and clarity. There were times when you had to travel on faith without knowing what the next step was or where the route would lead you. But despite the uncertainties, you remained committed to your goal. When others questioned your decisions or doubted you, you remained focused on the objective. You followed the route that God had put before you. Now, as you look back, you notice the clarity that has developed. The vision you have in your heart is becoming a reality, and everything is falling into place. Then came the challenge of patience. You've waited so long, haven't you? Waiting for the appropriate situation, time, and people. Sometimes it seemed like the universe was holding back on you. However, in actuality, it was preparing you for greatness. Patience taught you that everything has its season, and yours is now. You were getting ready for the riches and benefits that were waiting for you. You also passed the test of thankfulness while going through your hardships. You choose to be appreciative. Gratitude is not about rejecting your hardships. It's about discovering beauty even in the most difficult situations. Even when things were challenging, you found reasons to be appreciative. And your thankfulness has drawn additional benefits into your life, making you a magnet for optimism, joy, and success. You also passed the alignment test. Life's obstacles tend to draw us in various ways. Throughout it all, you have remained faithful to your basic convictions. You learned how to link your activities with your mission. You understand that when you connect yourself with divine direction, everything goes more smoothly. You need people, opportunity, and resources. Everything falls into place when you live in accordance with your truth, the chosen one. As we continue on this trip together, it becomes more evident. Your tale is one of incredible resilience, divine counsel, and unshakable confidence. You have faced several problems, but you have never allowed them to define you. You've endured storms, climbed mountains, and across rivers. Each step brings you closer to triumph. But first, let's look at the secret power you've always had. Even at the darkest of moments, you overcame fear. Fear is often the quiet impediment between where we are and where we aspire to go. It takes numerous forms: fear of failing, fear of the unknown, fear of being judged. You've felt it, right? Those occasions when you were on the verge of something amazing but were paralyzed by fear. Fear attempted to paralyze you, keeping you confined in your comfort zone. But you went forward anyhow. You fought fear with bravery and embraced your destiny despite its nagging doubts. That selected one is where actual power lies. The forgiveness test was another significant one. You're familiar with the sting of betrayal, the anguish of feeling abandoned by someone you love or trust. There were times when the burden of unforgiveness seemed too enormous to bear. However, you decided to release it. You let go of grudges, released resentment, and let serenity replace rage. Forgiveness does not justify the wrongs done to you. It emancipated you. It set you free from the bonds of bitterness, enabling your spirit to soar. Forgiveness enabled you to reach a new level of healing and progress. Another test that you passed was the test of vulnerability. You've navigated through life with strength. However, there were moments when you needed to let yourself be vulnerable. You had to express your genuine self, your honest feelings, even if you were terrified of being judged or misinterpreted. Opening your heart was not always simple. Nonetheless, you did it. You realized that vulnerability was not the same as weakness. It was the route to deeper relationships, genuine closeness with God, and healing. The test of abundance was next. You were confronted with scarcity, wondering whether you'd ever have enough financial troubles. Material troubles or emotions of scarcity may have clouded your view. But you also passed this exam. You learned that abundance is more than simply money. It all comes down to your thinking. When you changed your attention from what you lacked to what you had, you started to feel the flow of wealth in all aspects of your life. You recognized that success stems not just from monetary riches, but also from the depth of experience, love, and appreciation. Perhaps one of the most crucial assessments you passed was the self-worth test. The world around you attempted to define your worth based on external factors such as what you owned, who you knew, and what you accomplished. But you learned to perceive your value from a different perspective. You understood that your genuine worth is not determined by your job title, assets, or other people's views. Your value originates from inside, from the love of God, from the holy flame inside you. This revelation liberated you from the need for external validation, and you started to shine just as you are, entire and complete. There was also a test of intent. This exam questioned, what is your reason for being here? What is your distinctive contribution? Shine for the world. You've spent years looking for your purpose, trying to figure out why you're here. The trip was not always straightforward, and the solutions did not come easy. However, as you went through the challenges, disappointments, and breakthroughs, you realized that your mission is a journey rather than a destination. It is the way you serve, the love you share, and the difference you create in the world. Your destiny has always been inside you. You only needed to believe in God's timetable and purpose for you. You also passed the test of community. This one is noteworthy. You were chosen because you were not supposed to go through this alone. You were put in a group of like-minded individuals who understand and support you. However, this test was not without its obstacles. You had to figure out who really belonged in your circle, who was there to help you, and who was draining your energy. You learned to keep your peace, set boundaries, and surround yourself with those who encourage you while letting go of those who hinder you. This lucidity has enabled you to ascend even higher. The transformation exam pushed you beyond your comfort zone. You've changed in ways you may not completely grasp. Every event, test, and difficulty has transformed you into a new version of yourself. Some of the adjustments were external: new connections, new possibilities, and new situations. However, many were internal. You've become stronger, smarter, more compassionate, and more connected to your inner self. This shift was the result of God shaping you into the person you were always intended to be. Finally, you have passed the final exam. The criteria for divine timing. You have waited, perhaps 4 years, till everything falls into place. You've prayed, hoped, and believed that the appropriate possibilities would arise at the right moment. And now you're on the verge of a breakthrough. The time is great. All that you've gone through and experienced has brought you to this point. Your moment has arrived. The chosen one. You passed each challenge with elegance and resilience. You have shown to the universe, and especially yourself, that you are prepared for what is next. You have overcome your anxieties, healed your scars, and embraced your divine mission. Victory is now yours. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and forward this word to those who need it.